Hello, I'm Martha Pfanschmidt, and this is a brief tour of our show called Cosmic Pinball, Nancy Wilkins and myself. I'm showing paintings and collages, Nancy is showing sculpture, assemblage sculpture. So, I'm going to start off by talking about this painting because I think of this as the signature piece for this show. It's called Organized Chaos, and I think we've all experienced that, where we feel like the world's kind of spinning crazily out of control. Maybe our desk is spinning crazily out of control, but in the middle of that, we kind of know where we are and where we're going. And I sort of feel that's the way life is right now, is things are unpredictable and unknowable and spinning out of control, but I think we all feel a certain, or at least I hope we all feel a certain sense of balance and a firm base below all of that. So anyway, walking over here to this piece, which is called Rooted. I think about this piece, I made this piece before the pandemic began, and yet I think of this piece as being very indicative of what I experienced while being at home. I was kind of rooted. I wasn't going anywhere for 3 months. Pretty much we stayed at home, brief trips to the grocery store. So this piece took on new meaning for me, the idea of our roots being sunk into the ground, and yet there's this constant motion and turmoil under layer to all of that. Rooted and yet also a bit unstable, a bit at odds. So what I really want to talk about with this show is the emotional content of art. I think that all art, or at least all art I do, has an emotional basis to it. I think this show more so than many because of the times we're living in. These collages here I did while I was stuck at home. They were done since April, when this show was originally planned, because I needed an outlet for my feelings and I was unable to paint. So I picked up scissors and old prints and I cut them up and started making whimsical, lighthearted expressions of how I was feeling about the times we were living in. And as you can see, all of these, to some degree or another, are in a state of movement. Things are toppling, things are balanced or not so balanced. And they vary from being very unbalanced, like this one, where the whole thing really is going to fall down at any minute, to trying to get more of a sense of stability, like this one, where everything is centered, sat on top of everything else. While this isn't exactly super stable, it's more stable than some of them would be. So these collages ended up being my primary form of art making from April until June, well, March until June. And I have over 100 of them, and they are all here at the gallery, not all on the wall. They are in the print drawers as well, if you'd like to come in and take a look at them. And I do believe that art is a great way to experience emotions, whether you're making art or looking at art. I do believe it helps us through times that are difficult.
Hello. So, traditionally when we open up our show, or in the midst of it, when we are actually visiting the gallery, we offer an artist talk. And so, in these times, this is what we're doing here. What I'm going to talk about is kind of where I came from as far as how I ended up doing these sculptures. So I started off as a printmaker, mostly etchings and monotypes, and combining those together in sort of a way that plays with balance and movement using shapes and lines and color to do that. And that has always been an interest. So something like this, you know, these kind of shapes. Did you like that description? So the etching deal, or, you know, printmaking in general, often is done on, well, it's done on plates. And frequently they're metal, they're plastic, they're wood, they're all kinds of things. And I think it was actually Martha, in some ways, who turned me on to really looking at the plates and then displaying them. The metal itself, looking at the lines of an etching that are created on the copper, you know, has its own beauty. So then I started cutting up the copper. These were plastic shapes that I used when I was making monotypes, where if I didn't clean off the plastic, they retained their remnant ink and took on sort of a beauty of their own. Who knows what was going on with that? And then paper from prints, etc., collaged together. So then, you know, the metal. At some point, I think in art school, I took a welding class, which was exciting and thrilling. But then I abandoned it for, 20 plus years, and then got back to it a few years ago. There's this scrapyard down at Clackamas, bins of metal that's just like thrilling to go and pick through, to see the different shapes that are there, attracted both their form and also their, like this was painted. I have no idea what it was, what its purpose was. And then just the beauty of the rust. These, I think, are car parts. I don't know. They sort of call out to me. Then I gather them together and just keep looking at them and think about how they can go together. So there's that. Generally speaking, I find the pieces as is, but sometimes I will cut them. Like this piece here was actually part of this piece. So there's that. This chunk square has this beautiful rust pattern on it. You probably can't see, or maybe you can't see, there's this edge that was probably cut with a torch. The spring. Magnets. So trying to, convey what we're talking about in this show, that we are flinging through space and who knows what can happen at any time. The playfulness of that, and also the letting go. What are you going to do? Hoping for the best. Same kind of thing here. These pieces, I have no idea what this was for, but the beautiful shape of this line, these gears, and just looking at them and playing around, moving things around. Sometimes I do like to leave things sort of free floating so that you can play with it yourself, where you want to put it, because that is both the blessing and the curse of collaging. Is, you move one thing and it changes everything. And so, I drive myself, my partner, anyone who's around me, like, okay, what do you think? Is it good there? Is it good there? What do you think? Is it good there? And so kind of deciding where things are going to land and then to actually put it on, weld it on so it's solid. It's, sometimes hard to make that decision. And so it's fun to, by using the magnets, to be able to walk forward, have some opportunities to play around, to move it around, you know, somewhere else. I don't know, you know. I got this idea from Greg Wilbur, who was using magnets, and it makes it so it has a kind of interactive quality. You create your own sculpture at the same time. So, anywho, that's what I got.
All right, thank you, Nancy.
You bet.